Welcome back to the Nerdrotic channel. My name is Gary Beekler, and I am live in San Francisco, California, and I come to you from nerdrotic.com. Hope everybody is doing well today. We are covering Doctor Who Season 11, Episode 5, the Tsuranga Conundrum. I can talk. The Tsuranga Conundrum. And hey, I got my own notification. That is great. This will be a brief one today. We'll probably end up talking about more stuff than the actual episode itself, because as far as the episodes go, by the way, I think we're halfway through our Doctor Who season. So how's everybody feeling about it so far? I'm kind of interested to see what you guys think. This episode on a whole, before we get into the spoiler territory, was, it was okay. I think where I'm at with this show is, well, am I just going to be annoyed or less annoyed by episodes? And this was one of the less annoying episodes. Had some funny bits in it, but it had what's turning into Chibnall tropes. And I got kind of ruined. There's a video out there. I'll put a link in the description because I have no memory of the YouTuber right now, but he broke down Chibnall's episodes, and how he writes and how he puts basically creates like this arbitrary bad guy that's almost impossible to defeat, and then he puts in an arbitrary countdown clock. Now, we haven't seen an actual countdown clock in any of these episodes yet, but we got really close on this one. So at the end, to create tension, he always creates some kind of time limit. And I know a lot of writers do it, but like, since this guy kind of pointed it out, I see it in everything Chibnall does. So honestly, I don't even know if he wrote this episode. I'll have to check, but I assume he did. I'll just assume he did. If he didn't, oh well. And this is Doctor Who being run kind of as a writer's room, supposedly, and that's kind of how they've always done it. The big news this week, of course, was the canceling of the Christmas specials, and which, I mean, I've done a video on it. Please check it out. And also the admission that writers have run out of ideas for this show when it pertains to Christmas, but I would say it goes way beyond that, and that they're going to change the backstory of the Doctor, or they're going to add elements. But I think in the article I read, it said change. So we'll see at that. So this episode, real quick, we'll some mild spoilers on this one because I'm not going to get into every detail. Thank you, Viking Bitch, for the paddle. Yeah, so the Doctor ends up on kind of a trash planet with the TARDIS. A mine goes off, and they end up on a Tsuranga medical vessel on the way back to some sort of hospital, and it's a pre-programmed medical ship. And the Doctor does find out she's on a ship. She's on there with some other people who are suffering from emergencies. One of them is a man giving birth to a baby. And the other one is a general who is a famous general that the Doctor had actually heard of, who is also a pilot who is suffering from some kind of illness. This general has a robot assistant named Ronan, and her brother is there. The brother does not get along with the robot, whatever. And the male who is pregnant, apparently with his race, the male pregnancy lasts for about a week, and they just rip the baby out. And that's the way it goes. That was kind of funny, but that's kind of one of the less annoying things, but still annoying things that it's going to be in this episode. Is there always going to be some sort of dig, and that's what we were concerned about with this show. And not that I'm overly sensitive to this stuff, because if I was, I wouldn't even watch Doctor Who at all. And I love the show, but they just seem to be really poking as much as they can. Now, they don't do anything with Jodie Whittaker. Jodie Whittaker herself is okay as the Doctor. I still say she's doing somewhat of a Tennant impression, but this episode she was a bit different. Seems like she's kind of finding her feet a little bit, finding her own Doctor, and we're getting the empathetic Doctor. That's what she's going to be. But yeah, this episode was just it was just, again, like I said in my two previous videos on Doctor Who, and yes, they were two rants. Apologies, but yeah, sometimes I rant. That they're just going to be kind of forgettable episodes because they're not going to really take any chances writing, and it's just going to be really light, mindless entertainment. And I always felt that Doctor Who was more than that. So they're on this medical vessel, and they're near some uncharted, or they're near some dangerous part of space. Something attaches to the ship. It turns out to be a thing called a Pting. Now, the Pting was the best part in the episode. I did kind of like it. And it eats everything. It doesn't eat organic matter. It just eats everything else. And apparently they're incredibly dangerous. So think of like a really cute alien. That's kind of what it was. You can't touch its skin. It's toxic. Again, it eats all kinds of metal. It's indestructible. You can't blow it up. The best thing you can do is maybe knock it out. It's complete destruction. And it looks like a little baby, basically, a little baby with teeth. So they have to figure out how to defeat this thing. In the meantime, that guy's giving birth. And we also find out that the general that they met is very critically ill. And the male nurse, who is the lead in this, and the doctor kind of hangs out with, I forgot his name now. I've already forgot his name. Wasn't that important. Ends up dying in the beginning. He gets tricked into the life pod, and the Pting is an intelligent species. It ejected all the life pods. So it did want to kill people. And for some reason, we don't know, because it doesn't eat the people. It just, I guess, wanted to kill them. It could have let them go and just ate their ship, but it decided not to. And the doctor and the rest of the crew run around and figure out how to defeat the Pting. And we get a lot of, this is the one thing that's happening a lot this season, is we get a lot of little quiet scenes to kind of character build. So we get to know who Ryan is a little bit, and Yaz and Graham. Graham still is kind of the best thing in the show. He's pretty funny. So we get these little side scenes, and it's always like positive affirmation. There's a ton of like, you can do this. You're good enough. You're okay. Positive affirmation is a great thing, unless it's overdone. Okay. And when it's really overdone in this show, there's just a lot of that. Now maybe it's trying to be a positive show. It just plays like an after school special. And I don't know if, for those of you who are not in the States, I don't know if you guys and gals have after school specials, but after school specials are what we used to watch. And it was about like, little Tommy always getting in fights, and we got to find out like why Tommy is angry or something like that. And it's basically horribly written stuff to teach us a lesson. And yeah, to prove that after school specials are horrible, does anybody actually remember one? Because I don't. But the 80s were kind of murky for me, so whatever. So they basically get on the ship. They fight the Pting. There's the arbitrary countdown of the ship might self-destruct if they mess with the pilot, with the operating systems, because it is automatically programmed in the course. So if you mess with that, they will blow up the medical vessel, because that's I guess a better alternative than maybe somebody actually taking the ship but just taking people hostage. And I don't know. So yeah, the only opportunity here is to live or die, basically, on this medical vessel. And they figure out that the Pting just wants energy. He doesn't really want to eat the metal stuff. He's looking for the power. He ends up swallowing the sonic and just kind of sucking it dry, for lack of a better term, and then he spits it back out. That sounded better in my head. Sorry. So yeah, he sucks the sonic, and yeah. So the Pting is running around, and we have a lot of I guess the most interesting story in this is we saw Ryan looking at the guy giving birth and kind of getting perspective on his dad, and realizing that because his dad kind of bailed on him when he was young, and Ryan comes to terms with the fact that, oh man, my dad was my age right now when my mom had me, so I get it. There's no way I could take on a kid right now. So that was the B plot, which was way more interesting than the A plot. And and that's somewhat relatable. That's something I can relate to. Shit, my dad bailed on me too, but life sucks sometimes, right? Suck that sonic, right, Viking bitch. Yeah, so they figure out that the Pting is just after energy. So they take the bomb out from the self-destruct. Yeah, the self-destruct bomb on the medical vessel. That's one I just couldn't get over. They try to actually get science-y for a little bit. They talk about CERN and what powers the ship. It's an antimatter drive. And then I just start thinking about the Expanse and how well they explain it and how badly they explained it in this episode. It's like Doctor Who, just stick with the Who stuff. It's pretty cool. If you want to know what I'm talking about, watch The Expanse. It's a great show. So they eventually trick the Pting into one of the airlocks, I believe, with the bomb. It eats the bomb and has a good meal, kind of smiles. The bomb blows up in its stomach, and it's it had a good meal and it takes off. They also had an engineer who was the brother of the general rig a pilot so they can get around the operating system, which they were able to do because the doctor was there and she had a sonic, and he rigs it's a neural pilot, so you just basically stick you pilot with your brain, and it's funny as hell. So the doctor takes the general out of the room that her brother is in, who's the engineer. He's all, I'm gonna just give me a second, I'll rig something up. And they walk out into the hallway, and that's when the doctor figures out the general is critically ill with something called pilot heart, which is probably a disease you get from using the neural pilot thing or something. And it's critical, and she can't fly anymore. And if she flies this, it might kill her. But she has to do it because she's the only one who knows how. So they're out having this conversation for like a minute, and they come back in, and there's this whole pilot set up, and the guy, all he had was like a little light up screwdriver. I cracked up during this. And there's this whole pilot set up where her feet get in, and he opened up the floor. I'm all, damn, that guy does work fast. He's amazing. What a great engineer. So she is able to start piling the vessel, but while they were dealing with the Pting, the general died, and it was very sad. And her brother ends up piling the ship in. Everybody's safe, and of course, the doctor was freaking out in the beginning part of the episode because she didn't have her TARDIS. The TARDIS was on the junk planet, but we find out that they retrieved the TARDIS, and everything's going to be okay. And that's the thing is. This show it used to, the stakes used to be higher. It feels like it's just we're here to have fun. All the bad guys are going to be really misunderstood, which, I mean, Doctor Who has done before and done very well, but there's just evil things. I still can't get over last week's episode. Just constant sympathy for the giant spider over the 4 people who died, or 3 people who died. And it's just more of the same. So it's just, it's kind of silly Billy. Nothing really matters, and again, it wasn't a terrible episode, but this isn't something I'm going to like. This isn't event television. This isn't, I see Mako. Yeah. You can't compare Doctor Who to Battlestar Galactica, and you can't, as far as like tone and how the show is written, but as far as quality, I mean, Battlestar Galactica is like one of the best shows ever done. The Expanse, I'd say, is right up there with it, but Doctor Who was very high in quality to me. All right. I was a huge fan, and it's just not there. The quality has gone down, whether you like the female doctor or not, whether you care that they're going to change the backstory, whether you care that they canceled the Christmas specials. It's still just a kind of a meh show, and if you want a worldwide IP that is supposed to, be just hugely popular, if you want it to remain so, you can't just play it safe. Now people go, they didn't play it safe. They brought in a female doctor. Yes, they did. But after that, they've played it extremely safe. We have less episodes now. Like I said, we're halfway through the season. So, I don't know. I don't think they brought Jodie Whittaker in. I don't think it was their intention to bore people. I think it was supposed to be extraordinary, like I said, and it's just not. Is that fair to her? No. I mean, she doesn't write the episodes. I think she's doing the best she can with what she is given, which is not much. I don't know this for a fact, but it just feels like Chris Chibnall maybe wasn't their first choice. Maybe he was like second or third. I don't know. Maybe they've talked about this. If you guys know in the chat, let me know. That's something I'll look into. Because there's other people I would have picked. And maybe, again, this was the safest choice. And that's what we're going to get. So, no, not terrible, but really, really not good either. So let's get to the chat a little bit. I mentioned this in a couple of previous videos. It's, not every episode needs to be one committed to memory, but I remember bits and pieces of every single Tennant era, Tom Baker era. I mean, not perfectly. Okay, I'm human. I've slept since then, but yeah, Jodie Whittaker isn't being a good actress. I really like her as a person, but all she's doing is mimicking a mashup of Tennant and Smith. That's a good point there. Athena 55. Hello. No other doctor has been a copycat to that extent. No, no. I remember hearing some say, not a bunch of people say, that Matt Smith was somewhat mimicking Tennant, but I never felt that way. I felt like he was his own doctor. It took a minute for him to get going, like every other doctor. The only one that the only I'd say there's three for me that, and again, the first and second Doctor, I've seen what episodes are out there, but it's not like I've watched them a lot. But the third Doctor came out of the gate like awesome. Tom Baker, John Pertwee, and Tom Baker came out of the gate awesome. Christopher Eccleston was brilliant. Wish we would have gotten more. And Tennant. But they were all different. Yeah, you're right. Now I think about it. Now, like the sixth Doctor was like, ooh, it took me a long time to. I like the episodes that I think most people don't like. I like the Trial of the Time Lord. I dig that a lot. That's when I kind of finally started liking him a little bit. And it's sad to hear that they kind of went away with what he wanted and gave him that silly suit. He does have a very bright action figure though. European here. I know only of the National Lampoon's after school specials. Kato, those are the good ones. I wrote a program for Christmas. If writers out of ideas, then get new writers, Philip A. Demick, right? I mean, that's what really I want to hear from you guys today, and I'll spend a couple extra minutes on it. That's dumbfounding that they would come out and admit it. And like I said in my video, the only reason I think they did was to kind of divert the possible controversy of them not wanting to do it on Christmas because it's not PC. And that's the real reason. I mean, I have never in my life heard a professional writer openly admit that I have run out of ideas. And Stephen Moffat said it in so much. It was a quote. It was actually from Comic-Con from 2 years ago, where he said, I think we've mined Christmas enough. I think there's everything we can do. We had somebody, and speak up if you're in here, either in the chat or one of our commenters, make a great suggestion is have fans submit stories or ideas for Christmas. And you would never run out of, there's no shortage of Christmas stories, and they don't always have to be about Santa. And no, you don't have to land, next to Jesus somewhere. Or we find out, Judas wasn't really that bad of a dude. And he really needed the money, or I don't know that story that well, by the way. There's no need to apologize. Liam Hodgett says the Pting looked like CGI effects. Sorry, but that was my first thought when I saw it. It did. It didn't look that great at all. It was still the funniest thing in the episode, though. I could have just gone with the hour of the Pting eating shit. That would have been fine with me. We go to Andrew Tipman. He said, just watched it. Rubbish. Looks like a virtue signaling platform for Chibnall. Awful writing, unbelievable alien, nonsense plot, appalling dialogue. Yeah, the dialogue was pretty bad. It's really, and I think what you're referring to with the dialogue is that constant affirmation. We see that in CW shows. It's basically feelings in hallways, and that's what we got. It's like, you're okay, you're good enough. It's like, whew, man, space was filled with insecure people, and so is the world. But man, sometimes you just gotta take shit. Yes, Pen Farm Girl. The Pting was a nastier grown-up adipose, and that's the first thing I thought of. Excuse me. Yeah, it seems to a lot of it's not like just Chibnall, but it's so many writers feel emboldened to use properties as their platform for their personal politics. Okay, now I always hear the argument, and it's true, but it's not applicable to this. That politics have always been in Doctor Who and Star Trek and yeah. Honestly, the politics in Star Wars, I mean, other than what's like right there on the screen, I never thought about it as much that much. With Star Trek, you think about stuff. With some of the Doctor Who stuff, you absolutely think about stuff, but it's not done on a personal bent. It's done, Sorry, lost my train of thought. I'm 57. I've been watching Doctor Who. You're a young 57, you are. I'm 57 and have watched Doctor Who from the 1960s. No more until they sort this codswallop out. I love that you use codswallop in a sentence. Andrew, bless your heart. I'm gonna use codswallop today. Somehow I'm gonna use it. That is the word of the day, ladies and gentlemen. Feelings and hallways. Yes. After watching The Expanse, even TNG's magical tech annoys me, says Kato Road. Yeah. The Expanse does a great job. And folks, sometimes I come on here and I bitch about a certain show. I'm not nice to every show. Okay. I'm nice to most, and I try to give it a chance. But I will divert you to a better show. I will offer something better. Stop watching Doctor Who and watch The Expanse. I know you can get it over there in Europe. It is a great, great show, and not enough people are watching it. We really need more people watching it. But it doesn't really, it doesn't compare to Doctor Who. Doctor Who is its own thing. And yes, so the pregnant man thing within the storytelling of Doctor Who, I mean, you're right, it's a fantasy, and you can do, of course you can do it. You can do anything you want in the show. That's what I love about Doctor Who. It's kind of bonkers that way. But it's the little things. And if it's just this by itself once in a while, it's not a problem. And it's not like it's really a problem now. But if you look at this show as a whole, we're talking 5 episodes in, it really drives home. Okay, it's like, we get it. The women are in charge. Great. That's fine. It's just when things become annoying is when you do it all the time. Okay. And it becomes, you become disinterested to it, and it starts annoying you. It starts annoying me. And not that I'm annoyed by women in charge. I am not, believe me. My wife's nickname is Bossy Boots for a reason. But oh God. So yeah, the male nurse died, and then the other dude was giving birth. So it's a bunch of little stuff like this in the episode is like, okay, we get where you're going with this. It's not really that subtle. It was about as subtle as the hotel owner last episode. Yeah, I'll never forget that line from last. Well, not perfectly, but when he said, "What's so wrong with you people? If we see a problem, we shoot it." Dr. Meh. Yes, Dr. Meh. And I don't think that's what they wanted out of this. I don't think that's what they wanted at the, I don't want to say, I almost said at the end of the day. Please smack me through the internet if I say that again. That this is not where they wanted their show to be. They wanted this show to be back to the old ratings of the Tennant era, even the Matt Smith era, which was averaging, and this is in the UK, averaging about 7.1 million viewers per season. Of course, every show has a drop off after the opening show. That's completely normal. It's just how much of a drop off. Now, if you go look at early Game of Thrones episodes, you see there's no drop off, and it actually goes up at some points. So, and that's what it's done with a lot of Doctor Who's. It just really depends on the episode. I think that it would have been better for Jodie Whittaker is if they treated her just like a regular doctor, so she could find her own voice and not make her any different for any other doctor, but still making the show different. It looks different tonally. It already looks it's a little brighter. It looks a little more expensive, except for some of the effects, but the sets, they look okay. The ship looked great. Let's be real, that is never going to happen. Yes. And Silver Spike, always keeping it real. Yeah, I love Janeway as a captain. Never felt she was insulting men or women, but modern TV is different. Not sure what's going on in the world today. Might be something in the water. Most definitely, or in the yogurt if you're watching Homecoming. Yeah, it's yes, people still have problems. Yes, there's still misogyny in the world. Oh my god. And yeah, there will be. That's not getting eradicated in our lifetime. But yeah, always and again, it's not just this show. It's so many shows we watch. So it might not seem like a big deal to a normie who's just like dipping in the shows once in a while and doesn't watch that much TV, and we have to for the channel. And it's just it's it's so fucking noticeable. It's in every fucking TV show, and I mean every show. Game of Thrones was doing it. Westworld just did it. Um, like I said, if it's once in a while, it's the current trend. I get it, but man, drive that thing into the ground. Why don't you? Fred Bolanda, please rate David Tennant's Doctor. Of course, as far as my personal favorite, Fred, I would say it bounces. It goes from 1 to 2. It depends. I know it's a shitty answer, but it's basically if I watched a Tom Baker episode, I'm all, he's my favorite. Come on, what are you crazy? And then I watched David Tennant, and Silence in the Library, and I'm all, oh shit, David Tennant's fucking man. God damn it. So yeah, it bounces. But yeah, Tom Baker, Dave Tennant, they switch spots. My second favorite, the Third Doctor. My second favorite is the Third Doctor. I love the Third Doctor, and then I like Eccleston, Matt Smith. Capaldi was a good doctor, and Paul McGann. Love Paul McGann. Baker for me says the DJD show. That's good. Hey, that's okay. I mean, Baker's kind of the Captain Kirk of Doctor Who. I mean, he's kind of was the one that was the most popular, the one that kind of broke through. I'm coming from a obviously an American perspective. So my generation, people around my age, we have the public broadcasting network here, and they were just Doctor Who was on heavy rotation right at the after school hours. So we'd get home from school. There wasn't any really, like, I don't know, we just missed Transformers or GI Joe, and Doctor Who was always on, at least on the West Coast, a little later in the evening. So after you got done watching your cartoons, got done with a little homework, if you did that kind of thing, you watched Doctor Who, just because there wasn't anything else on. And then at first you're like, God, this show sucks. I wasn't into it when I was a kid, but then you get into it because you have no other choice. And then the charm of Tom Baker wins you over. Yes. There wasn't much to rag on in this particular episode. I'm going to wrap things up here. We're hit right. I usually try to keep this at the 30-minute mark, but it's more of the news that happened this week. That's why I'm going to cover the show, but I'm out. I mean, like, I'm not going to, like I said in my videos, not giving them any more money, nothing. I'm done because of the Christmas special thing that really irritated the shit out of me. I love the Christmas special, and fuck, you want to help win people over to Jodie Whittaker. You're not giving her any fucking chance by giving her less episodes and canceling Christmas specials and doing a New Year's episode, which is probably going to be, oh my God. So, yeah, that's it. Everybody, thanks for joining me for this one. I really appreciate. We had 75 people in here. Okay, I'll stay for a couple more minutes. How about a couple more minutes? Is that good? Yeah, I find myself defending her all the time. They've given her no chance at all to win on this. And other than the wow factor, and that is gone. That is gone. You are not going to get that back. It's not going to get 8 million views or views. God, I'm so YouTube trained now. It's not going to get rating in the eight, which, they consolidated out to 10.5 million. It's not going to happen anymore. If you were hoping, the next time that could happen is if they change doctors. I don't think they're going to get 10 million again. And you could have gotten close to that. If you go back and look at the other shows, they got close to what the opening show was at, especially towards the end. And we're not like racing towards some big mystery. We've had 5 one-off episodes. We're halfway through the season and we're still at, you know, I like Janeway more than I like Archer, says Jesse Sequeda. I do too. Oh yeah, Archer is my least favorite. I like Janeway. I think I can't say. I mean, I'm just going off of what I've seen in my chat, so I'm not saying this is a broad, educated opinion or anything. It just seems like a lot of people like Voyager is their least favorite. I liked Voyager. I did. Yeah, they overboard did a little bit, but I liked Voyager. Mako, they'll get they'll get more than 10 million if Neil Gaiman becomes the new showrunner. Trust me. Oh, I'd agree with that. You're not going to get an argument for me out of that. Problem is, he won't. He's been asked. He won't do it. Maybe his mind, because he never wanted to be a showrunner of any kind. He said it in multiple interviews, but never say never. He's basically running. I think he's running Good Omens, and by default is running American Gods. And maybe he's good at it. Maybe sometimes people are good at things they don't like to do. Shit, my last job. Yeah, doors and corners, everybody. I gave my girlfriend a foot kiss. I gave my girlfriend a foot misogyny after she came home from work. Thanks for making me laugh, man. Or I'm sorry, man or woman, person. I have a weird love for Enterprise. Hey, we all like weird love. Crimson Empire Entertainment. All right, I'm gonna bounce. And thanks for not much of a recap of the show, more of a recap of the news of what's happened with Doctor Who. We will be back next Sunday at 12:15 Pacific time, recapping the 6th, going into the second half of the season. And we'll see if we see some overarching story, if we'll see any returning villains. We'll see if Fonzie comes back from the Rosa episode, or the Tooth Fairy from the first one. And oh crap, you're right. Thank you. I got a super chat from Peng Farm Girl. $5. Any thoughts on the name he gave the baby? Oh yeah. Thanks for reminding. Yeah, sorry. Yes, avocado. I was very happy about that. And the reference to it was pretty funny too, that he got it out of the history books. Oh man, that was pretty funny. Yes, thank you for the super chat, Pam Farm Girl. I'm sorry I missed that. All right, everybody, you have a great day. We will be back for at least one more live stream today. We're going to be covering the Venture Brothers at 5:30 p.m. Pacific time, season 1 with Viking Bitch and Dennis. Please join me for that. If not, if you want to talk more Doctor Who, join me for the Nerd Erotic Nooner Monday at 9:30 a.m. Pacific time. In the meantime, Whovians, you have 52 years worth of shows to go back on. So, I mean, it'll come back in some form, but it's kind of done. It's kind of done. Sorry, folks. So may the small folks sing songs of your greatness. Cheers.